הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Good morning. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Congregation Share Zedek, the beautiful prairies of Manitoba, Canada. We are so happy to be here. It's a great honor to come into your homes and to daven together. So we also welcome everybody here in the sanctuary. Hello, Rabbi Matthew.
Rabbi Mas, hello. Shabbat Shalom.
Hi, Bill Weisman.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Leslie Emery.
Shabbat Shalom.
Marvin Polanski. By the way, you know that I received an email during the week. There's a woman who lives in Saskatoon. She loves coming to our services.
I was copied on this email. I saw it.
When she says, you know, we don't have our favorite Marvin here.
That's Linda. Linda's great.
Yeah, we don't have favorite Marvin. So he was actually admiring what Marvin does week after week behind his secret place. Nobody knows what he has there. Nobody wants to know, actually. We also welcome Bonnie Robinson. Why is Bonnie Robinson here? You'll have to wait until the Torah reading to realize that she's coming to read Torah. Oh, I just said it. Well, welcome, Bonnie. Great to have you here. And we have a great service ahead of us. And just a quick connection to the Parsha. It's called Behar and Bechukotai. And Behar is a reference to Har Sinai. It's where we receive the Torah from God. And you see, we're in the book of Leviticus. What this has to do with the revelation on Sinai that happened way back in the book of Exodus. Well, I believe that this is something, it's a reminder that we should have a Sinai moment every day of our lives, all the time. Doesn't matter where we are in our journey, we should always have Sinai moments. Those moments where we can feel the presence of God. And we are here to guide you into your own Sinai moment today. So give us the chance. Participate with us, sing with us, move with us, and strengthen your connection with your Creator so you can find your own Sinai moment. For those of you who are international friends, you may not know that we're about to enter into another lockdown here in Winnipeg because cases of coronavirus are going up. So those are moments, those are things that make us upset. So my challenge for each one of you is for at least for these 2 hours that we are going to be praying together, that put all those worries on God. Trust God in your life and have your Sinai moment. So we can all strengthen each other, even if we are separated physically. Ready to start, Rabbi Matthew?
I think so. I'm ready. I had 2 Red Bulls in the car on the way over here, so I'm
Wow.
I think I'm ready.
You're going to be flying in a
Well,
moment.
I stayed
So
up.
why did you
I stayed up late studying some things about the parsha, and then the next thing, you know, that line in the Haggadah. I always thought, I never understood that story in the Haggadah where they talk about the rabbis sitting around and they got caught up studying the Pesach stuff, and the next thing they knew, someone was coming in saying it's the time for the morning prayers. You've been up all night. I kind of had a sort of like that.
I never knew that they like Red Bull, but thank you for enlightening me.
Well, I don't know what they did back then when they didn't have coffee or Red Bull I'm not a
Yeah.
coffee drinker, as you know, so.
Yeah, unfortunately,
But I'm ready.
I had only 1 cup of coffee this morning, so I'll try to catch up.
Well, hopefully by the Shema, you'll be with me.
Okay,
But yes, I'm ready.
so in that case, I would like to invite everybody to rise so we can count our blessings despite everything and to feel blessed this morning. Bechukotai Shachar, Morning Blessings, page 5. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatatabi, Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher atah l'aseh v'yin alav k'menyom v'layla.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani betzalmo.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorin.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Israel.
Amen.
Together.
Elohai,
Elohai,
Neshama, Neshama, Shenatatabi, Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokei achivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, atir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokeif kefufim.
Amen.
Together.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatatabi, Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi.
Page 6. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, roka haaretz salamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa li kol tzorki.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, המאיחי מצדי גבר.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
Amen.
Together.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatatabi, Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, עותר ישראל ותפארה.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, הנותן ליעף כוח.
Amen.
One more time. Elohai. Sing it from home. Neshama. Your turn. Shenatatabi. Tehorai. Thank you. Let's continue on page 7. Remain standing for Baruch She'amar. Baruch She'amar ve'aya olam. Baruch Hu. Baruch Oseh Bereshit. Baruch Omer ve'oseh. Baruch Ozer u'mekayem. Baruch merachem al haaretz. Baruch merachem al haberiot. Baruch meshalem sachar tov lire'av. Baruch ala'ad v'kayam lanetzach. Baruch hodeh u'matzil. Baruch Shemo. Together. Lai, lai, la, 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 And you may be seated, and I'm so curious to see who is in the chat. So, Leslie, if you please.
Welcome to Claudette Hale, Alain Renaud, Phyllis Laveman, Alice Weissman, Sandy Polanski, Louis and Deb Stern, Fraser Arnovich. Welcome, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. David Wilder is here, and Rabbi Matthew, he has a note that he would like an aliyah this morning. He has Yahrzeit.
All right, he's in there. We have 3 open aliyot, so that's 1 down, 2 more to go. Thanks, David Wilder.
Beautiful. Hannon Bell, Shabbat Shalom, Eric Green, Michael Legoff, and the whole Legoff family. Welcome here, and good Shabbos. Welcome to Bonnie Cham, Judy Chirac, Josue Selva, Dr. Debbie Pollock, Gregory Hyman. Welcome here. Good to see you. Corey Glassberg, Jerome Foman, Earl Barish, Sharon Walder, with Lauren in Toronto. Welcome to Clyde and Karen, Marlene Schwade, Yehuda Cherney, Sarah B., Evita Smorden and Lyle Smorden. Terry is here. Edward, Teddy Lyons. And Harriet as well. Welcome. Good Shabbos to you. Hola, Mami. Anibal, your mom is here.
Hola, Mommy.
Good
Hola.
to have you this morning. Alan Cantor and Gloria, Zelda Elkin, Harry and Rhonda Ewell, and so many more. Let me see. Priscilla Kerr, Fabiana Pachter, Charlotte Deere, Fanny Levy, and Tony Schwartz. Good Shabbos to you all. And thank you all for joining us this morning.
Leslie, Murray Nazin is also asking for an aliyah in lieu of the fact this would have been, never mind. He wants an aliyah.
There's another one. We got him.
Another one.
Great
And
to
there's
have so
one more
many.
open one if someone wants. I'm speaking of your mother. I was going to ask. I know Mother's Day is celebrated differently. Is it Mother's Day in Argentina on Sunday?
No,
So you're off the hook.
I won't call her. Like I call her every day anyway.
So every day is Mother's Day. Is that what
No.
you're saying?
Yeah. No, but I would say so many people, and we have also some new people. I recognize Charlotte. She started to come to classes and all our services. So it's great to know that our group of friends is growing. We are so humble and honored that you choose Shari Zedek as your new spiritual home. So great that you're there.
Rabbi, wouldn't it also be good to ask them if they like what we're doing to do the, what do you call it, smash the like icon?
Yes. Remember, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so. Because I realized, we like to check the analytics after I realized that most people watching our services are not subscribed. So subscribe to our channel, hit the bell, so you will be notified every time we go live or every time we upload something to our channels. And give us the thumbs up. We like to see those at the end of the service. So, let's continue on page 8. Let's praise together the name of God. Psalm 148, Hallelujah, Et Adonai min hashamayim. Hallelujah, Et Adonai min hashamayim. Hallelujah, Pamromim. Hallelujah, Kol Malachav. Hallelujah, Kol Tzefav. Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Shemesh ve'yareach. Hallelujah, Gog ve'or. Hallelujah, Shemei hashamayim ve'amayim asher me'al hashamayim. Hallelujah, 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 Kol Malachav. Hallelujah, Kol Tzefav. Hallelujah, Hallelujah. I would like to invite everybody to rise so we can recite together the Mourner's Kaddish on page 46. Itgadal ve'itgadash shmei Rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma diverach iruteh ve'yamlich malchuteh v'chai echon u'v'yom echon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Israel ba'gala u'v'zman kariv ve'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehe shemei Rabba mevorach le'alam u'le'olmei olmaya. Itvarach ve'yishtabach ve'itpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yitaleh ve'yithalal shemei dekudesha berichu. Le'eila min kol virjata ve'shirata tushvechata ve'nehemata damiram be'alma v'imeru Amen.
Amen.
Yehesh lama raba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'el kol Israel v'imeru Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom imromav u'yaseh shalom aleinu v'el kol Israel v'imeru
Amen.
Amen. You may be seated as we return to page 10. Second paragraph, we have Shohenat Marom. Shohenat Marom vekadosh shemo.
Shochenad marom vekadosh shemo.
Befi yesharim titalal v'divrei tzadikim titbarach uvilshon chasidim titromam v'kerev kedoshim titkadash. Itgadal ve'itgadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma diverach iruteh v'yamlich malchuteh b'chai echon u'v'yom echon u'v'chayei dekol Beit Israel ba'gala u'v'zman karim ve'imeru Amen.
Amen.
Yehesh me'Rabba mevorach le'alam u'le'amaya.
Yitbarach
ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי בקודשה בריחו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה ימידם בעלמא ואימרו 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 אמן. Please rise as we turn to page 12 now to bless the name of God, the source of all blessing, with the Barhu. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uborech Oshem oseh shalom uborech hakol. And you may be seated. We have another Aliyah request here. Alan Cantor.
Yes.
Okay.
Alan, do you want to do it on Zoom? You probably have the link from last week. It's the same link. So you don't even have to let me know. Just if you want, just connect to Zoom. Otherwise, if you need the link again, remember, Zoom at szwinnipeg.ca. And for those of you who have an Aliyah and change your mind and want to do it on Zoom, I'll be glad to send you the link. What's next?
If the folks who requested the Aliyot could just double check by confirming their Hebrew names in the chat and their parents' Hebrew names. I think I know everybody's out of David Wilder, Murray Nazen, and Alan Cantor. But just to be sure.
Yeah, hey, listen.
Just to be sure.
Listen.
You think you're being funny there. Listen.
I caught on after the second listen.
That's the next thing we are doing.
Beautiful.
Requested by Linda from Saskatoon.
Lovely, lovely.
If you are lost, you feel afraid, and you don't know what to say, then listen, listen to our God. Is there a question on your mind? Is the answer hard to find? Then listen, listen to our God. Listen with all your heart and soul, and with all your might. Write them and learn them and teach them well, every morning and night. Close your eyes and listen. Quiet yourself, there is nothing to say. Stop all the chatter that gets in the way, and listen, listen to our God. When the wind and the thunder finally disappear, fear. There's still a voice that you can hear if you listen. Listen to our God. You can hear it from the top of the highest hill, or from the valley below. It can come from the edge of the universe. It can come from within your soul. Close your eyes and listen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malachuto Leolam. Listen, listen to our God. Listen, listen to our God. Please continue silently, pages 15, 16, and top of page 17. Adonai Elohim Emet. And before we continue on page 17 with the Michamoch, I would like to let Shelly Chochinov know that yes, you have your name in our list already. So you're good. Page 17, Michamoch. Michamoch Ba'elim Adonai, Michamoch Nedar V'Kodesh, Nora Tehilot Osefele. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora Tehilot Osefele. Shira Chadasha שבחוקי עולים לשמך, על שפת הים, יחד כולם, הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, Nora Tehilot Osefele. Please rise. Tzur Israel, Kuma Bezrat Israel, Uvdechinu Mecha Yehuda Ve'Israel, Po'aleinu Adonai Tzvaot Shemo Kedosh Israel. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Baruch atah Adonai, Gar Israel. And please remain standing as we continue with the Amidah on page 18. We are going to start singing in Hebrew the first three blessings. The end of the last of the three the third blessing is the Ledor Vador. After that, we continue silently. And for the silent part, feel free to use the Hebrew, the English, or your own words of prayer.
I have a few musical surprises for you in today's Amidah.
Well, they are not a surprise anymore. You already gave me the heads
No,
up.
but I didn't tell you what they're going to be.
Okay.
It's the Red Bull. Kicking in. That's not the surprise.
Just one question. Are they in Hebrew?
What are the surprises in Hebrew?
Yes.
Betach.
Okay. So
Be'emet. Of course.
then I don't have to stress out.
He is high.
Just be prepared.
Dude, you know what? After today, we should get at least some kind of sponsorship from Red Bull.
Rabbi Matthews, sponsored by Red Bull.
It was so funny because that was how I got into Red Bull in the first place in that sort of thing, because when I was on the radio, I was up every morning at 3:30 and I didn't drink coffee, so Red Bull was a thing. And I had a friend I had played baseball with who used to listen to our radio station, and every 2 weeks, a case of Red Bull was at the back door at the studio. But they didn't want any deals or anything like that. And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. I guess every 2 weeks or so I go down that lane and a case falls off the truck. That was the arrangement.
Yeah, but
I think I can say that now. I don't think they're watching our service, so I think we're probably okay. But maybe we could. But then again, I'm the only one who's crazy enough to
then
to
you
drink
have
that
like a
stuff,
bottom
so.
third coming slowly up the corner. It's a Red Bull and then it disappears again.
Rabbi Leibel, I have a question. What happened to that Red Bull in the wintertime? Got a little fresh, didn't it?
Well, I'll tell you, one time I left a Red Bull in the car in the wintertime and it exploded and the whole car smelled
That's
like
why I
Red
asked.
Bull.
It happens. So that's in our to-do list, to make a brand deal with Red Bull and Nespresso.
You won't sleep for
Well,
weeks.
Okay, Amida, page 18.
Wait.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקורא הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם. למען שמו ואהבה, מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחי מתים אתה, רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מקיים מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו בשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמנת להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. Bottom of page 20. Let me think for a minute. נקדש נקדש את שמך, את שמך, את שמך בעולם, כשם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום. ככתוב,
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 על יד נביאך, ככתוב,
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 על יד נביאך, וכרזה,
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 וכרזה, זה מאמר, וכרזה,
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 וכרזה, אל זה ואמר. קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. זז 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 בקול, רעש 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 גדול, רעש 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 אז בקול, רעש גדול. זז זז
אז בקול,
רעש 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 רעש
רעש גדול,
זז זז
אז בקול,
רעש גדול. אדיר וחזק
משמיעים קול,
אדיר וחזק
משמיעים קול,
אדיר וחזק
אדיר וחזק
משמיעים קול. אז
אז בקול,
רעש 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 רעש
רעש גדול,
אז
אז בקול,
רעש גדול. מתנסים מתנסים
לעומת סרפים,
מתנסים מתנסים
לעומת סרפים,
לעומתם לעומתם
לעומתם, לעומתם,
ברוך יאמרו אז
אז בקול,
רעש 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 רעש
רעש גדול,
אז
אז בקול,
רעש גדול. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומך מלכנו, מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי, מתי, מתי תמלוך בציון? בקרוב, בקרוב בימינו, לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים. וננו na malchuteka kadavar hamur veshire uzekam al yedei David Meshiach tzidkecha al yedei David Meshiach tzidkecha Imloch Adonai leolam Eloi Tzion לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש לדור ודור נגיד גודלך לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד לדור ודור נגיד גודלך לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה לדור ודור נגיד גודלך לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please continue silently, Hebrew, English, or your own words of prayer.
All right, Rabbi, I'm still in I love that Kedusha with a few of the Sol Zims.
Yeah, I thought it was sponsored by Sol Zim, but then you played Tautman Ledor Vador.
I know. That was our deal ahead of time. We hadn't done it in a while. I like that Tautman Ledor
Yeah, it's
Vador.
beautiful.
But I want to do a Sim Shalom. We don't do Sim Shalom very often.
Yay.
I want to do a Sim Shalom.
I'm with you guys.
Which Sim Shalom do you want, though?
Let's do Finkelstein.
Yeah, I figured you would say that.
Oh, it's fun to daven.
I thought maybe you were going to pick the Zim.
There's always room for peace, isn't there?
Always, that's what Bill said. Always, that's right. Always room for peace.
The missing piece. Sim Shalom, Tova Ubracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Amecha, Wo, Amecha. Come on. Sim Shalom, Tova Ubracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Amecha, Amecha. Barechenu, Barechenu Avinu, Kulanu Kechad. Barechenu, Barechenu Avinu, Behar Panecha. Sim Shalom, Tova Ubracha, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Amecha, Amecha. Ki be'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Torat Chaim, ve'avat chesed, ve'avat chesed, u'tzedaka u'bracha, ve'rachamim ve'chaim ve'shalom. Sim Shalom, Tova Ubracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Amecha, Amecha. V'tov v'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael, bechol led ubechol shah, bishlomecha. Sim Shalom, Tova Ubracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Amecha, Amecha. Baruch Atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo,
המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. Yasher koyach, everyone. Beautiful.
Shikoyach to you, Rabbi.
Great
Yasher
shacharit.
koach.
Yeah.
I love this one from the times when actually Cantor Finkelstein wasn't here.
He
We
was-
did it together.
Yeah.
And I started to mention all his songs, early songs that I like. And he started laughing. I said, you know more about more about my music than myself. He couldn't even remember these early tunes that he composed in the 80s.
Yeah. Marvelous composer,
It
really.
was a funny moment.
Well, I'll always think of you when I think of that tune, and you used to sing that one a lot in the early days when I was first here, and you were kind of teaching the congregation it, and hard to believe that was like over 15 years ago.
Wow. Yeah. And I remember singing this song, Finkelstein on the piano, and I was walking around shaking hands of everybody who came to the service at the end.
That was your installation.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. I have the recording, by the way. Okay. Page 32.
I'm
Kaddish
sure
Shalem.
you do. I'm sure you do.
I'm a digital hoarder.
Uh-oh.
I have everything. And actually, that's probably the only aspect of my life that is organized.
You said it, not me.
In folders and different years and different styles, I have everything organized on my hard drive.
So, Rabbi, you have to get a new computer every year to update the volume of stuff that you record, like really.
Pretty much.
Remember? Yeah.
Not every year, but once in a while I need an extra hard drive. Yes.
So I figured.
We're already in the 2
Guess you-
terabytes.
You can't wait for the 5G, is that it? So you can have lots and lots.
Okay, page 32, the Kaddish Shalem. יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה. בעלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי וחייכנו ויום יכונו וחטא כל בית ישראל וגלה וזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יש מרבה מבורך לעלם לעלמי עלמיה. ורק ושתבח ותרוב ותנשא ותדער ותעלה ותעלה על שמי קודשה. בריחו לאין למקודקת ושידתה, תושבחת ונחמת תמידי מעלמא ויאמרו אמן. יתקבל צלות אבותינו דכל ישראל קודם עוון ושמיה ויאמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו וכל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואימרו
Again, Yasher Koach on a great shachari to Rabbi Mas, Leslie, and Bill. Wonderful job leading us. Thank you so much.
And Yasher koach, Rabbi Matthew, for picking such engaging melodies this morning. I really feel uplifted, so thank you.
Good, right? Okay. I feel good about that. So now we continue on with the Torah service. I believe Leslie is going to be leading us. Everybody who's got a Zoom aliyah, make sure you're loaded into the Zoom waiting room, and Rabbi Mas will be right there to welcome you in and test your levels and get you all set up. For the rest of us, we're on page 33, and we invite you wherever you are, please rise.
ויהי בנצוע אהרון ויאמר משה קומה אדוני ויפוצו אויביך וינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה תורה ברוך שנתן תורה תורה לעמו ישראל Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlul Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'hagevura ve'atiferet ve'anetzach ve'ahor. Kicho b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, kicho b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha ve'haminaseh lechol lerosh. Romemu,
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 Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtachavu,
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 L'Adam Raglav Kadosh Hu. Romemu,
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 Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtachavu,
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 Behar Kocho, Ki Kadosh, Ki Kadosh, Adonai Eloheinu.
Please be seated. We're going to move into our Torah reading now. At the beginning of our service an hour ago, Rabbi Mas mentioned this week we've got a double parsha, Behar, Bechukotai. This is they're often done together. These are the final parshiot of the book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus, which means next week we'll be on to a new book. And speaking of books, this is the book in hardcover that we use to follow along with the Torah reading when we're all together, and we will be all together one day again soon. The Etz Chaim Chumash. If you do not have a copy of this, I know some of you do, but if you do not have a copy of this, we have PDF copies on our website, szwinnipeg.ca. You can log on there, follow the links to prayer books and to Torah readings and Haftarah readings, and you will find the reading this morning from Parshat Behar Bechukotai, which in the Etz Chaim Chumash is page 744. If you're using a different Chumash, a different Tanakh, a different Torah, a different Bible, something else to follow, maybe in the Hebrew, maybe in Hebrew and English, maybe just English. Leviticus chapter 25. We begin today late in chapter 25, and we will be reading into chapter 26. In fact, I believe we read all of chapter 26 as well. Leviticus has a total of 27 chapters. So you get a sense of where we are here in the Torah. And Rabbi Mas mentioned the Behar, part of Behar Bechukotai. We've got Behar Sinai. It's been a long time. It's been over a year since our ancestors, the ancient Israelites, Bnei Israel, were camped out at Har Sinai. Over a year since the revelation and all that stuff that we read about in the last book. What have they been doing there? They spent a long time building the tabernacle, and they spent a long time receiving laws. They're getting ready to go out on the move again pretty soon, but not just yet. They're still at Har Sinai. And as for the Bechukotai part, quite often we're here in the second triennial year. We don't get a chance to read the beginning of these parshiot, where the first word, the first major word, which lends its name to the parsha in most cases. We do today, though, because of the double parsha and the triennial breakdown. So when we get to Bechukotai, one of the teachings that had me up all night learning, all night. That's a song. I didn't make that up. Is what I'm going to share with you later on. It I'd never heard it before. It's an incredible teaching, and it's about the part of Bechukotai. Chukot, a chok. Often we translate it as a law, statutes, or maybe a decree. Could be other translations for chok, and it comes in the word Bechukotai. God's talking, in my chukot. That's what Bechukotai means. God's in part of it, right? In my, or follow my statutes, follow my decrees. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. The context you need here, Leviticus chapter 25, as we pick up this reading. And we start with verse 39. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 39, page 744 if you have the Etz Chaim. We're in the middle of a chapter, Behar. This starts with chapter 25, the parsha that starts with Behar, Sinai. It's all about these concepts that I love teaching Bar Mitzvah students because there are so many Torah concepts from ancient times that have found their way into modern times. And this is a perfect example. Chapter 25 in Leviticus is all about laws surrounding the sabbatical and the Jubilee. I live in a part of town that not a ton of people live in. It's not far from here. It's great. And one of the main streets there is Jubilee. And I always think about whenever Siri mispronounced Jubilee. Turn right on Jubilee. Go to Corridon. That Jubilee comes from the Hebrew Yovel. You know how we know Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, there's no J sound in Hebrew. A lot of times a Y gets turned into a J. And it does in Jubilee. The Yovel, this concept. But it actually begins with the sabbatical. And professors take sabbaticals. I remember our former senior rabbi, our Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Alan Green. He took a sabbatical. It was part of his deal at one point, right? The sabbatical is this concept of dealing with the land, that every 7 years you leave the land and God will take care of you so that in the 6th year you get a double kind of crop so you can wait through a year of not touching the land, leaving it 7 years. Of course, it's based on our Shabbat cycle, which is such a huge part. The 7, we know that the number 7 is a big deal in Judaism. And that after 7 cycles of sabbaticals, 49 years, the 50th year is this Yovel, this Jubilee year, where any kind of land ownership that happened is wiped away and it returns to the original owner. And any kind of indentured servant who has a deal working in someone's house is free. This kind of year of release, this freedom year of release. The interesting thing about the Jubilee is that it's positioned in the Torah as this really serious thing, and there's all these different cases, and we're going to read kind of the last case here at the end of chapter 25, different cases where the Jubilee is applied and how you calculate the price of selling something, because if you sell something a year before the Jubilee, it's very different if you sell it 50 years or 40 years before the Jubilee, because it's going to cost a different thing, and that's kind of how the Torah looks at it. But what's really interesting is that no one's positive that in ancient Israel they ever actually had a Jubilee year with a year of release. There are places of looking at counting it, but there's, in the Second Temple, it's very clear in the Talmud, in the Second Temple times, the Jubilee was never counted, and people aren't really sure if it was ever counted in the First Temple time. But, the idealistic nature of a lot of what we read in the Torah, this almost sometimes of utopian society with the way that they take care of the disenfranchised and all of that sort of stuff, it's still very interesting to see how the Torah was conceived and how important this idea of every 50 years, there's an automatic opt-out, a release for all of these contracts, all of these deals. So that's where we're picking up today's Torah reading. Leslie Emery is going to start for us. Again, we're Leviticus chapter 25, verses 39 through 43. So at this point, the sabbatical has been established, the Jubilee has been established, and we've seen a few different cases of different deals, different contracts that would happen. And here's a case. And we're going to see a few more of them at the end here in this chapter. So chapter 25, verses 39 through 43, let's get into it. Our first honoree this morning is Linda Epstein, who is commemorating her mother, Rita's Yortzeit, as well as her grandfather, Albert's Yortzeit, with this aliyah. Bill Wiseman will chant the blessings on her behalf. Again, Leslie Emery will read for us, and let's begin right now with our reading this morning for Behar Bechukotai. ויעזור ויושיע לכל החוסים בו ונאמר אמן. הכל עבור גודל אלוהינו תנוח ולתורה תעמוד. לאה בת קלמן הכהן ורנה הלוי לעלייה הראשונה. ברוך שנתן תרמו ישראל בקדושתו. ואתם מדבקים אדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Avorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Borach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim Venatan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'kiyamuch achicha imach v'nimkar lach lo tavod bo avodat aved k'sachir ketoshav yeh imach ad shnat hayovel yavon imach v'yatza me'amach uvanav imo v'shav al mishpachto v'lachuzat avotav yashuv ki avadaihem Asher hotzeti otam eretz Mitzrayim, lo yimkeru mimkeret aved, lo tirdebo befarech, ve'yaretam Elohecha.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet, V'chaye Olam Nata B'tochenu. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Yasher Kochech to Linda Epstein, our first honorary honoree this morning, and to Leslie Emery, our first Aliyah reader. Beautiful job. We're in the middle, right? It's a little bit of context. They talk about land deals. They talk about someone being an indentured servant. And a very important concept here, verse 42 really captures it. By freeing Bnei Israel from Egypt, God created this world where it's not, they're free, but they belong to him. And they can never be slaves again, belong to God. And so it's an interesting concept. We'll see it mentioned again before the end of the Torah reading. But it's all part of this idea, you saw it in there, of the Yovel, this year of release. And we'll keep reading more about it, more about the treatment of indentured servants so that they won't be treated as slaves. The whole Jubilee year of release kind of plays into that. So Leslie will continue for us, beginning with verse 44, still on page 744. Our next honoree is Jerry Moskovich. Bill will recite the blessings on behalf of Jerry, commemorating his son David's yortzeit with this aliyah. Yamod Yona ben Moshe Levi v'chenkal aliyah hashniya.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Vorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Vorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim Venatan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vavadcha vamatcha asher yihu lach et hagoyim asher tzvivotechem mehem tiknu eved ve'ama v'gam mibnei atoshavim hagerim imachem mehem tiknu umimishpachtam asher imachem asher holidu b'artechem Hayu lachem lachuzah, binchalatam otam, livnechem achrechem lareshat achuzah, l'olam vahem tavodu, uvachechem b'nei Yisrael ish v'achiv, lo tirdebo befarech.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chaye Olam Nata B'tochenu. Baruch Ata Adonai נותן התורה.
Amen. Yasher Koach to Jerry Moskowitz, our honoree for this second Aliyah, and Yasher Kochef to Leslie Emery. Two beautiful Torah readings to get us started. Thanks so much, Leslie. Great job.
Thank you.
I'll continue on here. Rabbi Moss mentioned that we have Bonnie Robinson with us, our semi-retired former ritual team member. Why is she back? Well, we'll get to it. But she is going to be doing a Torah reading for us before the end of the morning. For now, though, we continue with Shlishi, our third Aliyah. Page 744, if you have the Etz Chaim. We are still in Leviticus chapter 25, verses 47 through 54. This is kind of the final case about a deal that could involve the Jubilee. There's a little bit of a detour there in what Leslie was reading about the treatment of indentured servants, where they can come from, who they can be, how you have to not treat them as slaves. And of course, this makes sense because slavery is so fresh in the minds of Bnei Israel. It's only been a little over a year since they've been removed from their own multi-generational slavery that was such a trigger, I'm sure, of course, right? Such a trauma. And then we're back to this other case here. You're going to see the word ger toshav. It's very interesting, this term, ger toshav, often translated as resident alien, the stranger who lives, the non-Israelite who lives among the Israelites. We know that there were many folks like this, that a mixed multitude came up out of Egypt. It wasn't just the Hebrews who escaped. There were a lot of people who wanted to get the heck out of Egypt, and they stayed and they lived among the Israelites. Today, we use the word ger in a different way. We use it as a convert, someone who converts, someone who chooses Judaism. It's important to understand that in the Torah time, there was no converting to Judaism. There were certain rules, like something like Yom Kippur, for example, that were told that applied to everybody, Israelite and non-Israelite. The Jubilee rules, we'll see here, apply to Israelites and non-Israelites. And should a non-Israelite family take in an Israelite as an indentured servant, that leads to the case that we're going to see here in this reading. It's very interesting. So let's dive in. Again, Shlishi is verses 47 through 54. Our honoree is Shelly Chachnoff, who I believe is joining us on Zoom this morning. Shelly is here to commemorate her dad, Ben Zaidman's Yortzeit, with this Aliyah. And so, Shelly, it's great to be able to call you up and have you recite these blessings. Tamori Teresa bat Binyamin v'Nachama Aliyah Shlishit.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher barecha banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu Torat Emet. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'chi tasig yad ger v'toshav imach u'machachicha imo v'nimkar leger toshav imach o leker mishpachat ger acharei nimkar geula tihyeh lo echad mecha v'yigalenu o dodo o ven dodo yigalenu o misher besaro mimishpachto yigalenu o isiga yado v'nigal Bechishavim konehu mishnat himachro lo ad shnat hayovel v'haya kesef mimkaro b'mispar shanim ki mesachir yeh imo imod rabot bashanim lefihen yashiv gulato mikesef miknato v'mea nishar bashanim ad shnat hayovel v'chishav lo kefi shana v'yashiv et gulato ki schir shana bashana yeh imo lo yirdeinu beferach leinecha v'im lo yigael be'lev yatsa bishnat hayovel hu uvanav imo.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Shelley, Shabbat Shalom, and Yasher Kochech. So nice to see you and hear you this morning.
It's nice to be seen. Thank you very much for allowing me to honor our Father on behalf of my brothers and sisters.
Of course. Absolutely. Anytime. That's Shelley Chachanoff, our third honoree this morning. We move on to Rivi'i in just a moment, our fourth aliyah. David Wilder will be our honoree. Bill Wiseman will recite the blessings on David's behalf. This is going to end off chapter 25 and move us into chapter 26. Interesting how the chapter breaks. Remember that the division sometimes between parshiot, the parshas, and the chapters gives us a little hint. You'll notice that Bechukotai doesn't begin where the chapter begins. It begins a couple sentences in, and that's because in medieval times when they put together the chapters, they kind of missed it. They thought that those first two verses were kind of setting up what was to come, but no, in fact, the Parsha breakdown is right. The two verses that have to do with worshiping idols, I believe, kind of are connected to what comes before more than what's coming after because of references earlier in the Parsha of Behar. That's why it's a little bit of an unusual transition here, and why we start at the end of chapter 25 and go until the end of verse 2 for this aliyah. It's our fourth aliyah, it's Rivi'i. So it starts with chapter 25, verse 55, and goes until chapter 26, verse 2. If you have the Etz Chaim Chumash, it starts on page 745. And again, we will see here a reference to the Bnei Israel are not avadim, except they are avadim for God. Kind of an interesting concept. Yamod David Tzvi ben Mendel Lazer v'Sara Peso Lilia Harvit.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Havorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher Behar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ki livnei Israel avadim avadai hem asher hotzeti otam eretz Mitzrayim ani Adonai Elohechem lo tasu lachem elilim ufesel umatzeva lo takimu lachem ve'even maskit lo tinu be'artzechem lihishtachavot alea ki ani Adonai Elohechem et Shabtotai tishmoru umikdashai tirau ani Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach to David Wilder, our fourth honoree this morning. Now, we move into, with the next aliyah, Chamishi, our fifth aliyah, we move into Bechukotai. And here we get to see the beginning of this parsha, so I have a little something I'd like to teach you about after we get through it. Murray Nazin is going to be our fifth honoree this morning. Bill will recite the blessings on his behalf. It's a short reading, just 3 verses, beginning with verse 3, as we are now here in Leviticus chapter 26 on page 747. Yamon Moshe ben Yaakov u'tzivya l'aliyah hachamishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch
Adonai Borach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Borach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Im Bechukotai telechu, ved mitzvotai tishmeru, vasitem otam, v'natati gishmechem bitam, v'nana haaretz yevula, v'etz hasadeh yiten piryo, v'yisig lachem daish et batzir, uvatzir yasig et zara, v'achaltem lachmechem lasova, v'shavtem lavetach, be'artzechem.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata Betochenu Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. I ask your koach to Murray Nazen, our fifth honoree this morning. I'm going to do one more aliyah, the sixth, and then I'll share the story, and then we'll hand things over to Bonnie, and we'll explain why Bonnie's here for the very special seventh and final reading this morning. But we go on with a few more verses here, beginning with verse 6, Leviticus chapter 26, verse 6. And our honoree on Zoom? Okay, so should we? Well, we'll recite the blessings for Alan. We'll take care of it this week. It's okay. We'll see his face, but we won't hear him. Okay, I understand. So Alan Cantor had asked for an aliyah. He is here. We'll see his face, but Bill will recite the blessings. Having a little technical trouble there. Chapter 26, verse 6. 748 is the page in Etz Chaim. Yamod Elokim Pesach Ben Yosef Moshe Vester Pesi L'Aliyah Shishit. Oh, he's here.
This is real life, everyone. This is how it goes. Oh, we almost had him.
Okay.
Okay.
It's you, Bill. Sorry, Alan.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Vorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Borach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'natati shalom ba'aretz u'shchavtem ve'en macharid v'ishpati chayara min haaretz v'cherev lo tavor b'artzechem u'rdaftem et oivechem v'naflu lifnechem lecharev v'radfu mikem chamisha mea u'mea mikem revava yirdofu v'naflu oivechem lifnechem lecharev ufaniti alechem v'ifreiti etchem v'irbeiti etchem v'akimoti et briti idchem.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. So sorry for the technical troubles, but Alan Cantor, Yasher Koach. It's all right. It's okay. Alan Cantor, Yasher Koach.
I'm doing this on my phone.
That's okay.
Oh.
We're doing this with my phone. That's all right. We're going to say Shabbat Shalom and a Yashar Koach to Alan. Next, we had the great birthday Aliyah last week, and there will be more Aliyot. And in the meantime, an honorary honor, a virtual Aliyah with Bill reciting the blessings is still really great. So thank you for jumping in and being one of our honorees this morning. Kol hakavod Yashar Koach to all of our honorees. Bonnie Robinson is coming up. But first, a couple of quick words. That last reading, if you're reading the English, it should look very familiar if you've been a Shabbat morning regular for a while, particularly if you're ever here for bar mitzvahs or bat mitzvahs, where we have some of those English prayers, the prayer for peace. I will lie you down, and no one shall terrify you. I will rid the land of vicious beasts, and it shall not be ravaged by war. Let love and justice flow like a mighty stream. The inspiration for the first part of that is what we just read. I always like it to make those connections and show that a lot of the prayers, they aren't just pulled randomly. A lot of the words are inspired or sometimes lifted right out of the Torah. But this teaching about Bechukotai that I wanted to share with you, if you'll indulge me for a moment, and then we'll hand it on over to Bonnie. The whole word Bechukotai, the whole word chok, we talked about this before. We talk about chukim, umishpatim, edim. They're different categories of mitzvot, different categories of laws. When I was in Hebrew school, the chok, chukim, were always those laws like kashrut, like the law of the parah, which have no explanation. Right? That was the way we were always taught. The mishpatim, they have reasoning behind it. They have explanation, right? They have some stories, right? The seventh day, because God rested on day number 7, so we rest. Kashrut, there's no explanation given. Just don't eat these animals, eat these animals. Why do we care about split hooves and chewing its cud? It's for the rabbis to interpret, but it's not in there plainly in the Torah, right? But the word chok means engraved. That's literally what the word means, right? It's sometimes statute, sometimes decree, sometimes law. But the essence of the word in the Hebrew means to be engraved. And I found this teaching from Rabbi Shneir Zalman of Liadi, who was a Chabad, one of the Chabadniks, right, in the day, talking about how there were 2 Torahs. There was a Torah that was written, that Moshe wrote, the way we have written Torahs with ink. And there was a Torah on the tablets that was engraved. And the difference between writing something in ink and writing something engraved. And I'll read for you. When something is written, the substance of the letters that express it, the ink, remains a separate entity from the substance upon which they've been set, the parchment. On the other hand, letters engraved in stone are forged in it. The words are stone, and the stone is words. By the same token, there is an aspect of Torah that is inked on our soul. We understand it. Our emotions are roused by it. It becomes our lifestyle or even our personality, but it remains something additional to ourselves. But then there is a dimension of Torah that is chok, engraved in our being. There is a dimension of Torah which expresses a bond with God that is the very essence of the Jewish soul. Going even further, there was a rabbi who once offered the analogy that every Jew is a letter in the Torah, but a letter may at times grow somewhat faded. So it's our sacred duty to mend those faded letters and make God's Torah whole again. Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak of Lubavitch heard this and said, no. The identity of the Jew cannot be compared to erasable ink on parchment. Every Jew is indeed a letter in God's Torah, but a letter carved in stone. At times, the dust and dirt may accumulate and distort, or even completely conceal the letter's true form. But underneath it all, the letter remains whole. We need only sweep away the surface grime, and the letter, in all its perfection and beauty, will come to light. Ever think about that? The difference between writing something or carving it in? And I think we can think about that as these rabbis have for us, all within this word of the second word of today's double parsha, Bechukotai. So, we get to our 7th reading now. Page 748. This is a very long reading. And Bonnie Robinson is going to chant it for us. Part of why she is here is because it is such a long reading. Why is it such a long reading? Because Bechukotai. What we've seen in the last two readings, if you follow all my statutes and decrees, God says, things will be good. There will be rain when you need rain. There will be crops when you need crops. I will rid the land of vicious beasts. But if you don't, and as we know, the blessings are always very short, but the curses, they go on and on and on. And there's a rule in the Torah that you don't end a reading in the middle of a whole section of a slam. This is God's slam. If you don't follow my chukot and my mishpatim, I'm going to send disease, and I'm going to send war, and it's going to be brutal. And it goes on and on and on. And I encourage you to follow through. But because we have to do it in on one fell swoop, we're lucky that 10 years ago on this Parsha, Bonnie Robinson's son Daniel had his bar mitzvah, and she learned this epic Torah reading for that day. She's done it a couple of times since. And when I saw that it was on the docket, I said, Bonnie, do you still remember this Torah reading? And she said, let me take a look. Actually, I kind of do. I said, well, Bonnie, we want you on Saturday. It'll be great to see you and great to have you do this Torah reading. So we're going to call Bonnie up. Bill Wiseman is going to recite the blessings again, but that's because he's this morning's Haftarah reader and therefore our final honoree. And it's all, again, Leviticus chapter 26, verses 10 through 46. A long reading worth following. Page 748 is where it begins.
Bonnie, Bonnie, Bonnie.
Have you got your own yad?
It is so nice to have Bonnie back in the sanctuary today. And I remember Daniel's bar mitzvah. And I remember Bonnie reading this reading. So it's beautiful to have you here this morning, Bonnie.
Yamod Zevari ben Michael Alevi v'chayedo Maftir Chazak.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Amvarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Borach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Sorry, just looking for it, Matthew. It's 15 lines from the bottom, I know that, but Zachal 10, it should be towards the end. All right, okay. Amen. V'achaltem yashan noshan v'yashan mipnei chadash totziu v'natati mishkani b'tochechem v'lo tigal nafshi atchem v'hithalachti b'tochechem v'hayiti lachem l'Elohim v'atem tihu li le'am ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim mihyot lahem avadim v'eshbor mototu lechem ve'olech etchem komemiyut v'im lo tishme'u li ve'lo tasu et kol hamitzvot ha'eleh v'im bechukotai timasu v'im et mishpatai tigal nafshechem levilti asot et kol mitzvotai lahaprechem et briti Afani esezot lachem, v'hivkadeti alechem, behalat hashachef et ved hakadachat, mechalot einayim umdivot nafesh, uzratem larik zarachem, ve'acheluhu oyevechem, v'natati fanai bachem, v'nigaftem lifnei oyevechem, v'radu v'achem sonechem, v'nastem, Ve'in rodef etchem, ve'im ad ele lo tishme'u li, v'yasavti li yasera etchem, sheva al chatotechem, v'shavarti et ge'on uzechem, v'natati et shemechem kabarzel, v'et artzechem kanachusha, ותמלריך כוחכם, ולא תיתן ארצכם את יבולה, ועץ הארץ לא ייתן פריו. ואם תלכו עמי קרי, ולא תבואו לשמוע לי, ויאספתי עליכם מכה שבע כחטאותיכם, והשלכתי בכם את חיית השדה ושקלה אתכם, והכריתה את בהמתכם, והמיתה אתכם, ונשמו דרכיכם. ואם באלה לא תבשרו לי, והלכתם עמי קרי, והלכתי אף אני עמכם בקרי, והכיתי אתכם גם אני שבע על חטאותיכם, והבאתי עליכם חרב נוקמת נקם ברית, ונאספתם אל עריכם, ושילחתי דבר בתוככם, וניתתם ביד אויב, ושברי לכם מטה לחם, ואפו 10 נשים לחמכם בתנור אחד, והשיבו לחמכם במשקל ואכלתם, ולא תשבעו. ואם בזאת לא תשמעו לי, והלכתם עמי בקרי, והלכתי עמכם בחמת קרי, ויסרתי אתכם אף אני שבע על חטאותיכם, ואכלתם בשר בניכם, ובשר בנותיכם תאכלו, והשמדתי את במותיכם, והכרעתי את חמניכם, ונתתי את פגריכם על פגרי גלוליכם, וגלה נפשי אתכם. ונתתי את עריכם חורבה, והשימותי את מקדשיכם, ולא אריח בריח ניחוחכם. והשימותי אני את הארץ, ושממו עליה אויביכם היושבים בה, ואתכם אזרב הגויים, והריקותי אחריכם חרב, והייתה ארצכם שממה, ועריכם יהיו חורבה. אז תרצה הארץ את שבתותיה כל ימי הושמה, ואתם בארץ אויביכם. אז תשבת הארץ והרצת את שבתותיה כל ימי הושמה, תשבת את אשר לא שבתה בשבתותיכם, בשבתכם עליה, והנשארים בכם. והבאתי מורך בלבבם בארצות אויביהם, ורדף אותם. כל עלה נידף, ונעשו מנוסת חרף, ונפלו ואין רודף, וכשלו איש באחיו, כמפני חרב ורודף אין, ולא תהיה לכם תקומה לפני אויביכם, ועבדתם בגויים, ויאכלה אתכם ארץ אויביכם, והנשארים בכם ימכו בעוונם בארצות אויביכם, ואף בעוונות אבותם איתם ימכו, והתוודו את עוונם ואת עוון אבותם במעלם אשר מעלו בי, ואף אשר הלכו עמי בקרי, אף אני אלך עמם בקרי, והבאתי אותם בארץ אויביהם. או אז ייכנע לבבם הערל, ואז ירצו את עוונם. וזכרתי את בריתי יעקב, ואף את בריתי יצחק, ואף את בריתי אברהם. אזכור, והארץ אזכור, והארץ תעזב מהם, ותירץ את שבתותיה, ושמע מהם, והם ירצו את עוונם. יענו ויען במשפטי מעשו, ואת חוקותי גלה נפשם. אף גם זאת בהיותם בארץ אויביהם, lo me'astim velo ge'altim lechalotam, lehafer briti itam ki ani Adonai Elohehem, v'zacharti lahem berit rishonim, asher hotzeti otam, me'eretz Mitzrayim le'nei hagoyim, lihyot lahem le'Elohim ani Adonai, Ele hachukim ve'amishpatim ve'hatorot asher natan Adonai beino uvein b'nei Yisrael Behar Sinai beyad Moshe.
Yasher Koach.
Yasher Koach.
That was beautiful, Bonnie.
Wow. She did it all in one breath. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Bonnie, that was outstanding. Totally.
It was perfect.
Thank you.
It was absolutely perfect. That is not an easy reading at all. Length, words, tropes. Bonnie, you were incredible.
Thank you. I'd also like to say that I also did this for Marshall Wilder's of blessed memory second bar mitzvah.
Did you as
Beautiful.
well?
Yes, I
Oh, wow. So some meaningful moments. And you're our go-to person for this, it's one of the longest stretches in the entire Torah. And Bonnie, you know she's a pro, and she's still got it.
We're so lucky to have you as part of our community, Bonnie.
Wow.
Yasher Koach.
That's an unbelievable accomplishment. Thank you for agreeing to come and do it, and for doing it for all of us, Bonnie.
Thanks for taking a chance on me.
So that concludes our Torah reading for this morning. You can follow that. It just goes on and on and on. I always say these stretches of curses reveal a lot of God's personality, if we can use that word, which I think we can. Very interesting, the kinds of threats or warnings or everything that's just in there, and the nature and the on and on and on aspect of it. We see that in other parts in the Torah too. Whenever Bnei Israel are ratifying their brit, their covenant, this idea of if you follow, things will be good. And that part's always kind of short. If you don't follow, that part's always very, very, very long. Great Torah reading. And again, Yasher Kochachem to all of the honorees this morning, commemorating yard sites, volunteering from the congregation. And Bill Wiseman, helping us with all the blessings, but also for himself. Bill will be chanting the Haftarah coming up on page 763 in the Etz Chaim Chumash. This is the Haftarah for Behar Bechukotai, when they are done as a double parsha. From Jeremiah, I'll give you a little tasty nugget in a moment, but you can get ready with Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 19, the full Haftarah through chapter 17, verse 14. So it begins with Jeremiah 16, verse 19 through number 17, verse 14. Before Bill gets to that, he's got a Hagbah Glila job for us. We invite you wherever you are. Please rise for the lifting and tying of the Sefer Torah. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Please be seated. And a big thank you again to Bonnie Robinson for that Torah reading. Whew. So, this Haftarah. Jeremiah, always an interesting story, always has great things to say. Told you I got a tasty nugget for you. In fact, I got two. There are two lines. Remember we were talking about earlier, that line, that reading from the Torah that inspires that prayer for peace that we often do, especially on bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs? Well, there are two lines in this Haftarah from the book of Jeremiah that find their ways into very familiar parts of our prayers. One of them is Birkat Hamazon, the full grace after meals, particularly if you went to camp or know someone who does. See if you can find that line as you pay attention. And the very last line, I'll tip you off for this one, finds its way into our daily prayers in the Amidah in a version. So again, reminding us that so often the words of our prophets, just like the words of the Torah, are found in the prayers, which are so familiar to us, but sometimes almost too familiar that we take for granted where they come from. So hopefully this will help with your experience for following along as Bill Wiseman chants today's Haftarah from Jeremiah, beginning with chapter 16 and verse 19, page 763. Bill.
Rabbi, thank you very much. I wanted to introduce this Haftarah today. You inspired me last night in your Kabbalat Shabbat, reminding all of us that tomorrow is a very special day, at least in our part of the world. It's Mother's Day.
Yes.
So I thought to myself, why don't we dedicate this Haftarah to all the mothers who are watching? We're all blessed, luckily, to have wonderful wives. I would like to dedicate this to Alice, who has kept me on the straight and narrow for 47 years, even though it took her 90 years to do it. But to all mothers who are out there, this is dedicated to you.
Beautiful.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'nviim tovim v'ratzah v'divrehem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocher batorah ומשה עבדו, ובישראל עמו, ובני האמת והצדק.
Amen.
אדוני עוזי ומעוזי, ומנוסי ביום צרה. אליך גויים יבואו מארצי הארץ ויאמרו אך שקר נחלו אבותינו חבל ואין בם מועיל. היעשה לו אדם אלוהים, בהמה לא אלוהים. לכן הנני מודיעם בפעם הזו, אודיעם את ידי ואת גבורתי, וידעו כי שמי אדוני. התת יהודה כתובה בעט ברזל, בציפורן שמיר, הראשה על לוח ליבם, ולקרנות מזבחותיכם. כזכור בניהם מזבחותם, ואשריהם על עץ רענן, על גבעות הגבוהות. הררי בסדן, הלכה כל אוצרותיך, לבן אתם, במותיך, בחטאת בכל גבוליך. ושמעת ובחום מנחלתך אשר נתתי לך, והבאתיך אל אויביך בארץ אשר לא ידעתם כי אש קדחתם באפי עד עולם תוכר. כה אומר אדוני, ערוב הגבר אשר יפתח מאדם ושם בשר צורו, ומן אדוני יסור ליבו. והיה כי הרעב בערבה ולא ירא יבוא טוב, ושכן הררים במדבר, ארץ מלאכה ולא תשב. ברוך הגבר אשר יפתח באדוני, והיה אדוני מבטחו. והיה קץ שתול על מים, ועל יובל ישלח שרשו, ולא ירא כה יבוא חום, וחיה עליהו רענן, ובשנת בצורת לא ידאג ולא ימיש מעשות פרים. עוקב הלב מכל ואנוש הוא מי ידענו. אני אדוני חוקר לב, בוחם גליון, ולתת לאיש כדרכיו, כפרי מעלליו. קורא דגר ולא ילד, עושה עושר ולא במשפט, בחצי ימיו יעזבנו, ובאחריתו יהיה נבל. כיסא כבוד מרוב מראשון, מקום מקדשנו. מקווה ישראל אדוני, כל עוזבך יבושו, וסורי בארץ יכתבו, כי עזבו מקור מים חיים את אדוני. רפאני אדוני ורפא, הושיענו ויבשע, כי תהילתי אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמדים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך אור כל ישוב ריקם, כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו,
האל הנאמן בכל דבריו.
אמן.
רחם על ציון כי בית חיינו, ולאלופת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו,
משמח ציון בבניה.
אמן.
שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו ואליהו הנביא עבדך, ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך, במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, על כיסא לא יושב זר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו, כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכפה נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch hu baruch Shemo.
מגן דוד.
Amen.
על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הדברים והיום השבת הזה שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמלוכה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch hu baruch Shemo.
מקדש השבת.
Amen. Bill, you did it.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Thank
Check
you
the
very much.
chat. You got a lot of love on it, and you deserve it. It was a fabulous Haftarah. Just in your most that voice reminds me of being a 13-year-old post bar mitzvah coming here to read Torah a couple of times, and you doing shachri and stuff takes me way back. You're just vintage.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Vintage Bill.
So I'm still short enough to be 13.
Yeah. And you started with a really great dedication for Alice and mothers, and so thank you so much, Bill, for doing the Haftarah. Kind of on a last-minute sort of thing with the way the scheduling has been, and you did a great job. So
Thank you very much.
again.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. Well, we appreciate being able to hear you
Thank you.
do that. That was wonderful. And I hope you caught those lines. Baruch hagever asher yivtach b'Adonai.
That's right.
V'haya Adonai mivtacho. That's right in the Birkat HaMazon, right out of Jeremiah. And that last line, slightly tweaked, is in the Shmona Esrei, in the Amidah, when we pray for health every day, except for on Shabbat. But we do actually pray for health on Shabbat. We make a special Mishaberach for a refuah shlema for all those people we know who are in need of a recovery, a physical health or spiritual or mental, emotional pain. There's so many people. We've got a list of people we're going to call out. You can add names in the chat if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. And of course, in addition to people who are sick, we're praying for all doctors, nurses, and healthcare providers who are on the front lines, continuing to battle this pandemic over a year later, now with a third wave that has people very, very anxious and concerned in Manitoba. So to all people who are sick and who are fighting, helping those who are sick.
And by the way, Rabbi,
Yes, Rabbi.
this is the last Shabbat of the month of ER. And I learned a midrash. They said the ER is an acronym. Aleph means Ani, Yud means Adonai, and Reish means Rofecha.
So it's a month of healing,
I am your God,
the healer.
the healer. So at the end of the month, it's like we capture all the healing power of ER.
I like that. So Leslie's going to lead us. We can go back to our Siddur, page 34. We'll call out the names, and then Leslie Emery will lead us in this very special Mishaberach. Rachel bat Sonia, Alfie Glass, Beryl ben Dvora, Esther Bela bat Sarah, Atara bat Etel, Shmueleh ben Gitel, Dana Brinley, Janice Steiner bat Batsheva, Stephen Alexander Lee, Lucy Braverman, Michael Braverman, Risa Langhans, Karen Greenberg, Ari ben Dvora, Maria Carmelita Ferreira de Silva, Georgina Tessara, Shoshana bat Sarah, Adrian McDonald, Frida bat Regina, Sivia bat Sluva, Moshe ben Bluma, Aviva bat Malka, Yaakov ben Sion ben Miriam, Isabella bat Sarah, Chaya Zahava bat Leah, Batsheva bat Sarah, Yitzchak Dov ben Bela, Moshe Aharon ben Leah, Miriam Rachel bat Leah, Ari ben Chana, Chava Necha bat Sabra Ruth, Stephen Mebatio ben Wengari, Leah bat Rachel, Dvorah Gitel bat Leah, Binyamin Pinchas ben Dvorah Gitel, Nahum Le ben Leah, Hachazan Shefer ben Miriam, Shendel bat Miriam, Harav Avraham Yehoshua Heschel ben Ruth, Reisa bat Sarah, David Tzvi ben Sarah Pesel, Dina Rachel bat Sarah Esther, Yitzchak Chaim ben Sarah, Tove Yael bat Dina Rachel, Shira Naomi bat Dina Rachel, Eliezer Meir ben Tove Yael, Katriel Yosef ben Tove Yael, Yisrael Chaim ben Shira Naomi, Dave Scammell, Chaya Mindel bat Surah Fega, Chana bat Chaya Etel, Yonatan ben Esther, Selby Lerner, and Eden Lerner, Herbert Singer, Carla Bat-Nancy, Kim Bat-Nancy, Andres Ben Gloria, Temi Bat-Rochel, Isabella Bat-Sarah, Sam's List, Mendel Dov Ben Sarah, Colin Dorian, Carmel Bat-Iris. I think I saw Cindy Levinson was included. Dan Tagatak. Alan Rodkin. I think I got all of the names. And of course, wherever you are, you can think of people we're praying for. You can say the names out loud. You can still type them in the chat. You can call our office and add them to our list for a month, for every day. For now, let's join with Leslie, page 34.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו, may the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. מי שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו, bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Yisher kochech, Leslie. Thank you so much. We pray for refuah shlema for everyone in need of healing. Ordinarily, we would get ready to take the Torah back to the Ark, but as Rabbi Mas mentioned, it's the last Shabbat of the month, which means by the next Shabbat, there'll be a new month, which means we've got to bless the new month. And we're thrilled to have our regular month blesser, Alice Weissman, back, joining us on Zoom. We invite you to rise wherever you are. Bill Wiseman's holding the Torah. And big announcements were made on Shabbat because that's when people were going to gather together. And still we are together in a different way. And it's the perfect time to announce this new month. May it be a blessed new month. Page 40. Alice, take it away with Birkat HaChodesh.
Yehi ratzon milfanecha, Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, shetechadesh aleinu, v'tachodesh haba, l'tova v'liveracha, v'titel lanu chayim aruchim, chayim shel shalom, chayim shel tova, chayim shel bracha, chayim shel parnasa, chayim shel chilutz hatzamah, chayim שיש בהם יראת שמיים, ויראת חטא, חיים של שוכימה, חיים של אושר וכבוד, חיים שטבע ואהבת תורה, יראת שמיים, חיים שימלאו משאלות ליבנו לטובה, אמן סלע. מי שיעשה ניסים לאבותינו, וגאל אותם מעבד לחירות, הוא יגאל אותנו בקרוב, ויקבץ מנחיינו ארבע כנפות הארץ, חברים כל ישראל, ונאמר ונאמר אמן. ראש חודש סיוון יהיה ביום רביעי, הבא עלינו ועל כל ישראל לטובה.
Rosh Chodesh Sivan, Yom Revi'ah B'Alin V'Kol Yisrael L'Tova. The month of Sivan begins on Wednesday. May it be a month of goodness for us and for all Israel.
יחדשהו הקדוש ברוך הוא עלינו ועל כל עמו בית ישראל, לחיים ושלום,
Amen.
וששון ושמחה,
Amen.
ישועה ונחמה, ונאמר ונאמר אמן.
As always, Alice, beautiful. Yisher Kochech, thank you so much for blessing
Thank
the new
you.
month for us.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity and for all the encouragement from our clergy team.
Of course.
It's been wonderful. And thank you for providing inspiration, all of you, and respite during these uncertain times.
Well, it's our honor, and we thank everyone for tuning in and continuing to let us do that. Sivan is coming, which means Shavuot is coming. And since it's a time for announcements, don't forget, you have until Tuesday to put in your Dairy Kosher Classics order for Shavuot with Chef Joel and the kitchen team here at Shared Zedek. Blintz's Kugel, Knish, and Cheesecake. Pickup would be on Friday, order by Tuesday. The spring menu is still available too. Chicken soup, oven roasted chicken, herb potatoes, decadent pastries, all that stuff. This week coming, we also have Yom Yerushalayim with a couple of really, really cool programs. A concert on Monday night at 7 with Rabbi Mas. A young adult Yom Yerushalayim event on Monday night at 8 o'clock with special guests Professor Haskell Greenfield and Julia and Noah Kahn from Jerusalem. It's going to be very, very cool. So please check that out. Now, you're still up, you're still standing, so let's return the Torah to the Ark. We had a little extra singing today, a long Torah reading, the special blessing, but it's all good. We got to get to that Dvar Torah coming up in just a minute, but first, stay standing, page 41. I think Leslie Emery is going to lead us.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nizkav shemo levado.
Hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo. Tehila, tehila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Page 43.
Et chaimi lamachazikim ba, et tomcheya ve'usha. Hashuva Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
Please be seated. Big thanks again to everyone who has helped out this morning. Rabbi Anibal Mas, whose Dvar is coming up in just moments here. Bill Wiseman, all his usual duties, but also the Haftarah and all of the blessings for people who wanted honors this morning. Leslie Emery, great singing, tremendous davening, great Torah reading. Bonnie Robinson, that fantastic 7th Torah reading. And my favorite Marvin Polanski, our audiovisual director. All of our honorees and all of you, thank you so much. It's been a great morning. We're a little late. I didn't mean to put you in a late time slot. I realize most people don't have anywhere to go. Plus, they could always just log off if they wanted to. And it's not like you're waiting for lunch. Make a little lunch and sit and enjoy the joke in the Dvar while you're having a
little bit of
sandwich.
lunch.
Yeah.
A little bit of Red Bull.
I should never have told you guys about the Red Bull. Never. Anyway, Rabbi, please.
Thank you. And thank you to you, Rabbi Leibel, for your
Pleasure.
contribution. Beautiful teachings today during the Torah reading.
I like that one about the ink and that one was a cool one. It kept me up all night in a good way, learning more and studying. That's the best kind of up all night.
I guess.
Is what you're going to tell us now going to keep us up all night?
No. But before that, just I don't think you mentioned for coming up the Tikkun Leil Shavuot. Because we don't want anybody to make any plans because we have a learning opportunity here at Shaarei Zedek. So in the eve of Shavuot, Rina Sector Bas will be teaching from 8 to 9 live. I will be teaching live from 9 to 10.
Oh, boy.
And then from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Yeah, you
I'm
heard me
teaching
right.
live. No, I'm just kidding.
No
chance.
We have a playlist of our best classes of the year 2020, curated by me. And that includes some of my teachings and Rabbi Leibel's teachings. So you will have an opportunity to study all night long if you want. You can even take a nap in between, and then when you come back, we'll be still there teaching. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have the one about the hair.
That's right. I did that class on the hair. That was a year ago.
So
this is, I think, I told you this, but I'll say it again publicly. I think this is such a great idea. I mean, we look forward to, hopefully next year, being able to collaborate again with the other synagogues and the other rabbis and have a version of our tikkun for Leil Shavuot like we have in the past. This community celebration of learning in Torah and studying all night. But in the meantime, this is such a great idea. A couple of live classes to get people going, and then if you haven't seen, and then people can pick and choose, right?
That's correct.
You can choose what it's kind of like our greatest hits, our best classes of the pandemic.
Pretty much, yes.
Study all night long. Eat cheesecake.
Yeah.
Be happy.
Sleep all day, party all night.
You sound like Felix, my son.
That's my son's favorite song in these days. I don't know. It's funny. Okay. So I heard about this group of kids that they were all around a little puppy. And they were yelling. They were screaming. And then there was a rabbi walking by them. And he stopped and said, "What are you doing?" And one of the kids says, "Well, we found this puppy here on the street. And we have a little contest here. Whoever can tell the biggest lie is going to take the puppy home." And the rabbi gets furious. And he starts on a spontaneous sermon, 20 minutes. And he starts by saying, "Don't you know that lying is a sin?" And he ended up saying, "When I was your age, I never lied." The kids look at each other. They look at the rabbi. I said, "Okay, Rabbi, you won. You take the puppy." So I want to talk to you today about don't fool yourself. You see, I realize, and I say this all the time, we all have dreams, we all have expectations, we all have something that we would like to see happening in our lives. We pretty much design our lives in our head first, and then we go on into doing things to make those things happen. And that is very common. It's very good to have a goal, to have a place where you know that you can go to. But the problem is that in between, life happens. And boy, we learned this during the pandemic. So many times, so many dreams that they got frustrated by external circumstances. But this is just one example. Many other things happen in life that actually are in conflict with things that we would like to see happening in our lives. When we go to school, when we take our first job, we start dreaming about the way we'd like to live, things we'd like to have, and then sometimes happens that we are not really there fast enough, soon enough, things getting delayed, and we start doing something that is not so good. We start taking shortcuts, we start using tricks, we start cheating so we can get what we want a little faster. But we know that the Torah is absolutely against that. One of the values that we learn from Torah is the value of truth and the value that we have to always take the high road in our quest to achieve our goals. And we all know that, yes, for a little while, you can trick the system, you can get things faster, but eventually, life is going to catch you. And then, everything that you thought you got, most likely, we end up losing it. I can give you countless of examples of how this works. People who cheated their ways to the top to then fall lower than they were when they began. People like Lance Armstrong, people like Ben Johnson, that they thought that they were so smart that they could trick the system to go faster to the top. And we all know what happened. Well, if you don't know, you can Google it. Long story short, they destroyed their careers and their reputations, basically. But you see, this week's Parsha, the Torah brings two verses talking about the need of living an honest life. The first one says when you sell or when you buy a property, you have to be careful not to wrong one another. The second verse seems to be a little bit unnecessary because it simply said, do not wrong one another, but fear your God. I am Adonai, your God. And then I would think, but what is the second verse necessary? The Torah already said that you should not wrong one another when you're buying, when you're selling, when you are dealing with business. We got it. But what is the second one that it said you should not wrong one another, but fear your God? And then the rabbis get puzzled by that as well. And when they said the first one is talking about specific things that we all know, that if you break the law, you're going to be punished. There is a specific law said if you cheat on business, what happened? Well, likely you're going to have to pay a fine, or depends on the severity of your transgression, you may even end up in jail. But we all know that there are many other circumstances in life that you can cheat, and even if you get caught, there will be no consequences to you. So the Torah is saying, even in those circumstances, you have to do the right thing, because even if there is no specific law against it, God is still looking at you. And violating that spirit of the law will imply a desecration of the name of God. But there was a rabbi, a very famous Hasidic rabbi, Rabbi Bunim of Peshiska, just a place in Poland, by the way. And he said, yes, it is very important to follow the law. But he continued and he said, but it's also important for every Jew to understand that sometimes we have to go beyond the letter of the law and not only live a life where we don't trick other people, but live a life where we don't fool ourselves. What a beautiful message. Because sometimes what happened is that we get so used to trick others that we end up believing those lies. And we end up fooling ourselves. And you know, when you fool yourself, you're not going anywhere. Yeah, it might feel great for a minute, but then you're not going to achieve anything because things happen in specific ways so we can protect ourselves. Let me give you an example. And this is just an example that it came to me last night. In fact, I was going to talk about something totally different today. But as I was listening to the news about the lockdown that is going to start tonight, it came to me, how did we put ourselves in a situation where we have to go to another lockdown again? And you know why? Because we fool ourselves. Because we thought we could outsmart the system. Because we thought that we knew more than the experts. And because of that now, we have to all go through another lockdown. We are experts on finding loopholes. We are experts at doing something that it may look one way, but in actuality is something else. And we all know at the end of the day that is wrong, but we are so smart that we might make it look like it's right. And yeah, it might look right, but it's still wrong. And at the end of the day, we're all paying the consequences. So I was thinking last night, what a powerful message. If we can learn from this situation, not only about the pandemic, about the coronavirus, but life in general, that we all know that it's wrong to trick other people when there is a punishment. It's also wrong to trick other people when there is no punishment. But we have to learn that it's also wrong to fool yourself. And how much further we can go in life if we stop doing that. But learning, like Rabbi Bunim said, that tricking others is bad, but tricking ourselves at the end of the day could be even worse. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Rabbi, you crushed it. Oh man. I thought last week was good. You keep outdoing yourself, pal.
Thank you.
That was great, Dvar. That was great, Dvar.
It's like I had something else. I will use it probably next year for Behar Bechukotai, because I told you, I never put anything on the delete folder.
Well, yeah, but that's like the great rabbi trick, right? When you have a sermon all planned, a lot of people think, oh, you must be disappointed you didn't get to say what you were going to say. Oh, no. When you have to think as many Dvar Torah ideas as we do, things to say, when you get another inspiration, you're like, yes, I've got 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, and actually, Behar Bechukotai happens every year.
I know, that's the other thing too.
Yeah, you have to be patient, that's it.
What's the rule on how many years before you can start reusing Divrei Torah and figure people don't remember them?
Depends. With you next to me, never.
But after I leave, you can start getting away with it because I won't be there being like, you did this one 3 years ago.
Probably every 6 months.
We invite everyone to rise for Aleinu on page 44.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו וסולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ, ועל הארץ, מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד.
We invite you to remain standing for the Mourner's Kaddish, which is on page 46. This week, we mourn the passing of Tanya Dolovich and offer our heartfelt sympathy to Michael and Pat Dolovich, Alan and Kayla Dolovich, Jeffrey Dolovich and Lori Monk, Gary Dolovich and Krista Bax, Miriam Yeager and Jerry and Cynthia Friedel. We also mourn the passing of Ruth Ricky Siegel and offer our sincere condolences to Carol and Terry Gutkin and Marvin Stern and Sherry Silverman. We extend our condolences to families who are still in the first month of losing their loved ones, to the families of Martin Brody, Jacob Seuferman, Goldie Rash, and Bernice Ethel Macklin Marmel. This week at Congregation Shered Zedek, we commemorate the yortzites of Alex Mandel, father of Marlene Schwade, Menicha Barenhout, mother of A. Barenhout, Emmanuel Wilder, great-grandfather of David Wilder, Rachel Wilder, grandmother of David Wilder, Ben Zaidman, father of Shelley Chachanoff, Paul Zaidman, Harriet Zaidman, and Ellen Zaidman, David Moskovich, son of Jerry and Gloria Moskovich, Rita Pentol, mother of Linda Epstein, Albert Epstein, grandfather of Linda Epstein, Judith Wiseman, mother of Anne Wiseman, all of blessed memory. And today, from One More Candle, we commemorate the yortzeit of Maya Borodkina, of blessed memory. Again, on page 46, let's join in the Mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'alam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlam arab min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Amen.
It's been a long morning. It's been a great morning, but a long morning. Should we do Adon Olam? Should we do a quick Adon Olam?
A quick one. Adon Olam asher malach.
Classic traditional.
Okay. Anything you want to say? Services this evening, 6 o'clock, Shabbat Mincha with Leslie Emery. The email with Rena Elbaz's Havdalah will go out around Havdalah time. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock with Bill for Shacharit. Tomorrow evening, 6 p.m., Mincha Mariv with Bill. 7:30 during the week for our Shacharit, Monday through Friday. 6 p.m. for our Mincha Mariv. We don't have any holidays this week. Shavuot's coming.
Yom Yerushalayim.
Yom Yerushalayim.
Yom
Monday.
Yerushalayim. It doesn't change the times, though. It
No,
doesn't
it
change
doesn't.
anything. But that's Monday, so get ready for that. And, of course, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers tomorrow. I think this is a good key. I'm never sure. We don't do this one that often that I remember.
For that one, any key will do.
You need my key? I have it here.
Stealing my joke.
Page 47.
Adon Olam asher malach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, le'et nasa v'chefzo kol, azai melech shemo nikra, ve'acharei kichlot hakol, levado imloch nora, והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשיל לו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו אף כדרוכי בהתי שם להעירה ועם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי ולא יירא. Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom,
Shalom.
everybody. Shabbat
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. Have a peaceful Shabbat.